How are you, ladies and gentlemen? It is Wednesday, the best day of the week on this channel, where we talk about Bulls hot takes, your Bulls hot takes specifically, and my thoughts and reaction to them. If you're new to the channel, feel free to leave any hot takes you have in the comments below, and I just might include them for next week. And as always, I will continue this weekly series throughout the off season. So with that said, let's get right into it. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Let's get us kicked off with our first hot take, which comes to us from Noah Fenton. We need Lonzo on our team next season, or we will risk not making the playoffs again. A bit extreme, my man. I don't think, us not getting Lonzo means that we're missing the playoffs. I actually think that this Bulls team with a full offseason together, a full training camp, and some additional development from the younger guys like Patrick Williams and Coby White, that could actually make the playoffs even if big moves were not made. But that is a risk, like you said. The team clearly still does need to make changes, and that starts with upgrading at the point guard position. And actually, before I get into that take further, when I say upgrade at the point guard position, because people always talk about how the Bulls need a better point guard, as if Coby White doesn't exist. Coby is actually a decent point guard, but again, he's still better off the ball, playing as a guard off the ball. And right now, what the Bulls need more than anything is a floor general, a playmaker and defense. Coby White is a solid scorer and a decent playmaker, or at least he was starting to show flashes of that towards the end of the season, but he's not a good defender. And more often than not, he's not the best when it comes to commanding the flow of offense. So I don't want to take away from Coby White and his value when I say upgrading at the point guard position, more so upgrading for what the Bulls need right now in that role. But anyway, as I was saying, upgrading at the point guard position as the biggest change that is needed to be made to ensure that the Bulls can, at a minimum, make the playoffs. I don't think it's a Lonzo or bust type scenario. I do think Lonzo fits a lot of those needs for the Bulls, and he actually would fit well with this roster overall, but there are also a lot of other point guard options, whether it be through free agents this offseason or through a trade. Lonzo Ball is probably one of the more realistic options for the Bulls than, say, someone like a Kyle Lauri, Mike Conley, or even Ben Simmons through a trade, but I don't think Lonzo is the answer that will make or break this team and their playoff chances. Next up, we've got Bulls for life. Trade Zach Lavine. Zach Lavine to the Cavs for their third overall pick and get Colin Sexton too. Come on, man, get out of here. In what world would this make any sense for the Bulls? A third pick that is likely going to take years to develop when you just traded for Vucevic, and you're giving up your best player in his prime and Zach Lavine for him? Oh, and Colin Sexton too. No way would this help the Bulls or fit the direction that they're trying to go in by removing Lavine from the roster and adding a third pick and Sexton. Not only that, but if the Bulls actually were looking to trade Lavine, they could definitely get a better haul for him than just the third pick and Sexton. No, just no. Next up, we've got Judgmental Doc, which, by the way, these hot takes are coming from the Discord. Feel free to join the Discord if you're interested. It is free and a great place to talk Bulls basketball. Link to the Discord is actually in the description. But as for the take, Bulls should sign TJ McConnell as a backup point guard, as he's a good defender and a hustler, and to which Coby can then play as a backup shooting guard if the Bulls are to sign a starting point guard in free agency this season. Well, I think the last part is the big if that would really be dependent on all this, because sure, TJ McConnell would be a nice player on a cheap deal as a hustle defensive backup point guard, but he's not the answer for the Bulls in the starting role. So as long as the Bulls can get a starting point guard in free agency, then yeah, I can get behind this. I actually like McConnell coming off the bench because he's kind of like a better all-around version of Ryan Arcidiacono, defends really well at a high level for his size anyway, and we could use that hustle and energy off the bench. I do think this scenario complicates things for Coby White though, because how much playing time really is he going to get coming off the bench behind Zach Lavine? I doubt that's the role Coby wants for him next season. So in this scenario, they might have to look at including Coby in a trade package of some sorts. I would much prefer having Coby come off the bench as a combo guard, being a backup for both the 1 and the 2, and rotate those minutes so he's getting a good amount of playing time off the bench and still continuing to develop. Next up, we have Jan Miller, Marvin Bagley sign and trade with Lauri. Yes, I am all for this move. This was actually one of my trade scenarios that I had proposed in a video a couple weeks back, and it personally was my favorite one because, at least in the way that my favorite one that was the most realistic, where I actually think it would benefit both sides. The Kings want to move on from Bagley, and Bagley has expressed he's not happy in Sacramento. The Kings also need shooting and someone who can stretch the floor. Markkanen could be a good piece for them, although it pains me to say it because I feel like Lauri going to Sac will destroy his career even further. I mean, here's the thing about Bagley. He's actually a good player and still has potential. It's just he'll always be remembered as the guy who was drafted before Luka Doncic. So unless he's playing at a star level, people are always just going to think that he sucks. But he's 22 years old, will be going into his 4th season in the league. He's averaged 14 points and 7.5 rebounds on good efficiency from the field this past season. He improved his 3-point shot and finally started to show some consistency this year. Now, his defense isn't really that great, which again, if you're the Bulls, that's what you need to be focusing on. So I'm not saying bring Bagley in as a starter, unless of course you can't re-sign Tice. So that instance, you can potentially have him start as a power forward if we're not able to get Tice. But as a backup center behind Vucevic or a backup 4, a young guy who is another big that can crash the boards, was the #1 ranked high school player going into college, and instead of just losing Lauri for nothing, you get Bagley in return on a rookie contract? Yeah, I'll take that for sure. Next up, we've got God4W. Bulls trade for Terry Rozier, maybe Gordon Hayward. Definitely not Gordon Hayward. I mean, I know he had a bit of a resurgence with the Hornets before getting injured, but that's the key line, before getting injured. At this point in Hayward's career, he just can't stay healthy, and that contract of his is horrendous at his age for how injury prone he is. Not only that, he doesn't really fit with Zach Lavine at all. Terry Rozier, on the other hand, I mean, also not the best contract, but it is expiring, so you can trade for him and see how it works before offering him an extension before he becomes a free agent next season. And he would fit with this team more so than Gordon anyway, given Rozier can play the point. And Rozier actually had a great season this past year, averaging over 20 points per game, 4 rebounds and 4 assists on decent efficiency. Not sure he really moves the needle for the Bulls in the playmaking department, more so than Coby anyway. Coby's probably just as good of a playmaker as Rozier is, but he is a better defender than Coby White. I don't know. Trading for Rozier is an interesting idea. I guess it just depends on how much you would have to give up to get him. My guess is it's likely going to be more than we would probably want to give for an expiring contract. Next up, we've got Jake Rusko. The most important task the front office has for this offseason is to re-sign Thaddeus Young because of his impact on and off the court. Well, I agree the decision around Thaddeus is going to be an important one because he does provide a lot of value in terms of his versatility, his hustle and energy, and as you said, off the court with his locker room presence as a veteran leader. But no, it's not the most important task for the front office this season. The most important task is finding a playmaking point guard and also getting better defenders. I like Thaddeus, but the decision on whether or not to fully guarantee the final year of his deal is not the most important thing for the front office this offseason. There are going to be a lot of other priorities on the list. Next up, we've got Daryl Pride. The Bulls will make a draft day trade, either for picks or someone relevant in the league. I definitely think that the Bulls will make some sort of move on draft night. A lot of moves around the league happen on draft night. I don't see the Bulls trading for picks because, again, it just doesn't fit the timeline after the Vucevic trade. They're going to be looking to make trades for more established players. So I do suspect that some moves will be made on draft night. It just depends on whether those moves will be made as a stepping stone for an even bigger move once free agency opens up the week after the draft. And that's really the shift that I think we'll see happen, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. Next up, we've got Amar Yesley. Bulls trade Russel Westbrook and give up Lauri Markkanen and Coby White. I think this trade will make the Bulls contenders. Oof. No, my man, I don't want any piece of Westbrook. I've never really been a fan of Westbrook from the get-go, but especially now on that contract of his, which won't expire until 2023, where he'll be making $47 million at the age of 35. No thanks. I mean, he's a great player. He's still one of the best point guards in the league, but his play doesn't always translate into winning. And bringing in Westbrook alone doesn't make the Bulls instant contenders, as you mentioned. Westbrook is not somehow going to revolutionize this team to becoming a title contending team. He just isn't. Him and Beal were barely able to squeak into the playoffs. And again, that contract at his age and giving up young prospects in Coby and Markkanen, No, at any rate, that trade wouldn't work since salaries wouldn't match up either way. Even if you did do a sign and trade for Lauri at $20 million, and that's because Westbrook is just making way too much money. Let's do one more. This one is from Vignesh Arasu. Zach Lavine will perform extremely well for Team USA in this year's Olympics, and his great performance will lure players to want to play and have him join the Bulls. I also reacted the way during the draft lottery. I legit was so excited and jumped out of my seat and then realized we didn't get the top 4 pick. I think a lot of Bulls fans reacted the same way. Well, based on all the comments that I got in that video that I uploaded, it sounds like I wasn't the only one as far as Bull fans who got psyched out thinking we had moved up into the top 4. And in any case, if you missed it, I did do a live stream reaction of the draft lottery, which was quite comical and also embarrassing for myself at the same time. So feel free to check it out if you're interested. As for your take though, so I was actually really happy when Lavine was selected to play for the US Olympic team. And it was for this reason specifically that you're referring to, in the sense that if Lavine balls out and dominates in the Olympics, it's going to get more eyeballs on Lavine than there otherwise normally would be, when you're literally playing on the global stage. And if he can be one of those top performers on the team, win the gold medal, yeah, that's going to make a good case for the Bulls when it comes to attracting free agents. That being said, there are a lot of great players on this roster going to Tokyo, with the likes of Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, among many others. Will Lavine be able to stand out among all of these big names and make a name for himself in the Olympic Games? I'm excited to watch and see how he does. I love watching the Olympics in general, and then seeing Lavine in there will also make it even more exciting as a Bulls fan. Either way, I think it is going to be a great experience for Lavine, getting some playing time in a competitive environment in the offseason and have a chance to show up on a global level. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end it there for now. As always, be sure to leave your hot takes in the comments below. And of course, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next one.